Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 11th of August. I'm Derek Clark, back after a week off, and I'm here to talk all things Rangers with Stevie Clifford. Joshua has joined us, but his Wi-Fi is playing up. He's in Pilsen at the moment, folks, in his hotel. So hopefully we'll get him on at some point during the course of the show. But how's it going, Stevie?
Oh, wonderful, mate. Wonderful. Delighted to be here on this Monday morning shift. Watching Joshua's Wi-Fi is as painful as watching us on Saturday. So, can't wait to discuss it all. I'm sure everybody's in a jolly mood, ready for the show ahead.
Yeah, it was hard watch on Saturday. There's no doubt about it. And we'll get stuck into that. A quick word, though, for our podcast sponsors before we do just that. If you're needing a new fence, folks, look no further than Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience and they're offering free consultations, whether it's a small-scale refurbishment or a large-scale complete fencing project. And you also get 10% off if you use Rangers Review over on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Right, well, you were there at Ibrox on Saturday, Stevie, alongside many others. It was poor, to say the least. We're looking, certainly after last Tuesday night's game against Victoria Pilsen, the Rangers would bounce into that and get a positive result. Russell Martin picked the same 11, but it never materialised that way. Rangers probably fortunate to come away with a point in the end, thanks to a James Tavernier stoppage time penalty. Nasser Giga, of course, sent off in the second half, and Dundee, you could say, were unfortunate not to take home maximum points. There has been a lot of anger since then, Stevie. I think that's understandable. A lot of anger directed at Russell Martin. What did you make of what unfolded on Saturday? And do the fans have a right to be a tad concerned at where Rangers are at this point in time?
Absolutely, they do. It was utterly dreadful, Derek, from start to finish. I would love to say that I'm surprised, but I'm not, because this club continues to serve this up year upon year. Listen, I like Russell Martin. I've said it since I met him. I think he's a good guy. I think he talks very well and everything else. But you could talk the hind legs off a donkey for the proverbial saying. It doesn't matter, because once you cross it, the white line, it's absolutely dreadful to watch so far. The reaction has been very, very, very critical. I don't think it surprises me. I don't think there's much point in it, which we'll come to in a wee bit. But it is what it is. We were awful on Saturday, Derek, from word go. And I think, do you know what? And this really, really gets on my nerves quite a wee bit. I had to edit what I was going to say there slightly. Because we turn up like we're prime Brazil, of the 80s, 90s, early 70s, whatever you want to call it. And we think we turn up and we're superstars, because our attitude from word go on Saturday was all wrong. We strolled about, we moved it slow, we didn't look interested, we didn't look up for it, and it took us, 15 minutes before we done anything worth of note, which wasn't really that much worth. And our attitude from word go was like, we just need to be here. And I'm sick of Rangers teams just turning up like they're Oda, or they can perform when they want, and it's not right. So that from word go surprised me a lot, and really disappointed by the attitude, Derek. It was so slow, it was so turgid, it was so boring to watch, and you could tell straight away Rangers are the only club in the world who would go out and spend money on two really good, exciting, fast wingers and then not pass the ball to them. And it frustrates the life out of you. And it wasn't all the things and all the buzzwords we've heard from Russell Martin about dominating the ball, about playing attacking football, about being in the opponent's half, being in the opponent's third, all this kind of stuff, running harder, running faster. It's just not true. And it doesn't pass the eye test, because people can see what's actually happening out there. And there's no point in trying to lie to people, no point in trying to fool them either. So I will say what I said yesterday. I don't think there's much choice in getting, right upon the Martin out board and stuff like that. But it's naive enough not to think that people on Saturday were saying that, and people since then have said the exact same thing, because there's no groundswell of support for this guy in the slightest, and that's something that he has to overcome. But Saturday was really quite poor from a team that had been gubbed pretty much by everyone in the League Cup, beaten by a few really lower league clubs, to turn up at Ibrox and fully deserve 3 points, which they narrowly missed out on because of Rangers' lethargy and performance overall. Derek is quite the eye opener. So he's got everything to prove. And by the way, see, while most people will hump the blame on Russell Martin and all that, and I get it completely, the players' attitude and the players' performance was absolutely dreadful to a man as well, Derek, with the exception of Gasman and probably Ant-Man you would chuck in there. Everybody else, not good enough from word go. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really, really sad day when you're kind of relieved to get a point at home to Dundee, just as we were to get a point to Motherwell. So that's exactly where Rangers are at the moment. We talk about beating the rest and trying to be better than everyone else. We are the rest, Derek, and that's a position we're in.
It is, Stevie. I can't disagree with any of that, really, at this point in time. Pacer sums up many of the fan base who left early. He says everyone is fed up. Wick Warrior with a point says, how do we fix this? Well, we were warned before Russell Martin was, when he was appointed at previous clubs at Swansea and Southampton, it may take several months before his sort of game style and philosophy takes shape. And for the first few months, it will become almost, I was told, almost insufferable to watch. You'll be pulling your teeth out at times watching this. It's clear he has players playing at a system that they're unused to. And of course, that will take time. And they're pretty much learning on the job, game by game, which is not ideal. My concern is with Celtic, of course, winning yesterday, that they may be out of sight by the time it's set to click in. So that is a concern of mine. If we're talking October, November, December time, the title race may be a pipe dream by then. So much so, I think Rangers may well be looking over their shoulder at second place, with other teams seemingly getting their house in order at this point in time. Stevie, you mentioned the wingers there. Of course, they were terrific on Tuesday against Pilsen, Gassama and Antman. The fans are asking, why do you not get the ball to these guys as quick as possible? I think the point there, we're fed up. Playing the ball across the back line, enticing Dundee to come on to you, only works if Dundee are willing to do that. Russell Martin said in his post-match press conference that perhaps has to do a bit more to counter teams that play in that ultra-defensive low block. Well, he's going to have to do a lot of work on that because that is what Rangers are going to come up against for the majority of matches in the Scottish Premiership. And that is a concern of mine as well. He's going to have to adapt his system because it didn't work on Saturday. It didn't work last week against Motherwell either. So that is also a concern of mine. With you, like you, I've seen calls for him to be dismissed already, which I think is a tad wild, to be honest with you. Rangers are not sacking the manager after 2 domestic matches. But there's no doubt about it. There is fan unrest, and then we need to see improvements and quickly. The players on that park on Saturday should have been good enough to defeat Dundee, Stevie. And like you say, a team that have been humbled in the League Cup by teams in lower leagues, that doesn't bode well going forward.
No, it doesn't. Couple of things to first touch upon before we kind of look at the performance. Russell Martin said he didn't realise how Dundee would play, and he was really surprised by how low they were. I find that completely disingenuous. I don't think that's the truth at all, to be honest, because I watched Dundee against Hibs for 20 minutes a week before, and they were set up the exact same way, a Christmas tree, really deep formation, basically just like that, really deep. And they hit on the break, and that was all. They weren't looking to come forward in the slightest, and they did it perfectly against us because we have we have a tendency to overplay. I think that's clear when it comes to centre backs. They don't move it quick enough. The midfield, as I said from day one, the midfield does not look right. It's completely out of shape, Derek. It's not functioning properly, and they struggle to get them in the game, and they struggle to get wingers involved because they don't move it quick enough. Butland, Suter, Giga, particularly John Suter, their pace on the ball is dreadful, and this is the issue. And you've seen it basically. Dundee sat in with the realization that our players aren't good enough to keep the ball and play the way Martin does or wants to for 90 minutes without making mistakes. And both their goal and the red card came from our moments. And we've got nobody else to blame but ourselves. And Russell Martin needs to take some responsibility for that, because he's asking them to play a system which they're clearly not comfortable in.
No.
So, and he's going to persist. I get it. He's not going to change. I understand that. But you're literally putting square pegs in round holes. And I'm a week from repeating the exact same thing that I said last week after Motherwell. And it doesn't work. You're asking John Suter to play football at the back, and he can't do it, Derek. He's not capable. He can't shift it as quickly as we might want to. He can't do it. Jack Butland can't use his feet. He looks dreadfully uncomfortable. You can see it. And they all want too much time on the ball. The midfielders, Diamandi wide on the right. Diamandi has not performed in the slightest under Russell Martin. Lyle Cameron struggled to get in the game. The only one that was in the game was Rothwell, because he was taking it deep off the centre halves and then shuffling it. If you want to be really sceptical, the way they're being forced to look is just another glorified horseshoe, because they aren't moving it quick enough and they don't have the players in there to try and affect the game. There was no through balls of note to the wide men. You were giving them it when they had their back to goal every single time. And our number 9, once again, was completely anonymous. And he got into the game midweek really well. He failed to do it at the weekend. Whether it's an attitude thing from all of them compared to it was during the week, I don't know. But Derek, sometimes I get the impression they look at it and go, this is going to be difficult today. Not sure I want this. And I've seen it for too long for people, because that's what people around them were saying. They don't look up for it. They don't look like a team that were playing at Ibrox in a 5:45 kickoff that wanted to really go and win that game. They just looked like a team that were going through the motions, and that early on is extremely concerning to me. But there was so much wrong with it. So much wrong with it. You're asking players to do things that they can't do, and you're either going to have to bend, which he's not going to do, or just take them out the team for their own good, which he's not going to do. So this will continue until somehow we break past this mould of where people say. But I'll tell you one thing, Derek. Club Brugge, as they've already proved it, Celtic, Maeda's pace and stuff like that. If you sit where we're sitting in a game and are as loose on the ball and have as much space behind us, teams will hurt us. That Giga moment when Dundee, when the boy Finlay Robertson went through, will continue to happen to Rangers, because that was just a complete disaster. They just waited for us to give a ball away. John Suter, like Diamandi, gave it away for their free kick for the first goal, and they sit in the wait. And any team worth their salt will sit in and wait. And the real big issue is that Pilsen aren't even out of it during midweek because of the way that we play and because of the amount of chances we give up, and we're 3-0 up. And that's a clear indictment of how the fans feel and where we are. It's not good enough. It's not good enough in the slightest from where go. And look, Derek, here's the truth of it. Not many people wanted Russell Martin in the summer. Not many at all. We sat and talked about it, Derek, and we said that this style wouldn't work. Now that he's here, he's a very likeable guy, I get it. And I've said all that, and I understand it. I'm not going to call for him to get sacked or moved on or anything, but I will call out what I'm seeing, which is dreadful stuff that isn't working. And it would be disingenuous of me to sit here and say otherwise, because I would be fooling everybody by saying, we're seeing patterns of play. We didn't see anything worthwhile on Saturday, apart from a back four lazily knocking it about and giving the wrong balls to the midfield and the wingers, and a 9 who was completely anonymous.
Yeah.
And that's been the pattern of play in 90% of the 5 games that we've saw so far, aside of 10 men against Panathinaikos for a spell and Pilsen for 60 minutes, because that wasn't a complete performance either. We glossed over the last 20-odd minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you want to say, because when they went 3-0 up, they stopped. But there's so many red flags around that team and performance, setup, individuals, whatever you want to say, touchline, manager, whatever. head coach, whatever you want to call it, that it's startling, Derek. It really is. And that's the truth of it.
I spoke to the Southampton journalist when he was appointed. He told me that he clearly doesn't know how to organise a defence, and he struggles against teams that play at a low block. So I said at the time, if he hasn't learned from that, then he won't last long in Glasgow. So what concerned me, a few comments in his post-match press conference about, well, he did say last week that he watched a lot of Rangers last season, clearly not against teams that played in that defensive shape, which is a concern. And he just hoped that he did talk about they'll learn from this. All the buzzwords we heard in that post-match presser at the weekend, you just hope that he takes it on board and he adapts, because that was, as you mentioned, Stephen, it was Stevie, unacceptable on Saturday. And given the matches that are coming up, you'd imagine Rangers, if they get through on Tuesday night, the St Mirren game will be put back. And then you've got Celtic and Hearts on the horizon, Livingston away. At this point in time, you can't say you go into these games with any degree of confidence that you're going to take maximum points, Stevie.
Do you have any confidence that we're going to beat Alloa? Do you have any confidence that we're going to beat Pilsen during the week? I mean, Pilsen, yeah, because they have to come out and play football a wee bit. They'll get chances. You're relying on them not taking them, but you're a bit comfortable saying that, well, we might be okay because we'll be able to play against a team that comes out and plays. Alloa won't play. St Mirren won't play, although probably will be off. Celtic will adapt their game because they've got players that can hurt us. The pace of Ida, Maeda, etc., their wingers that they've got will hurt us when we're playing like that. And Derek, it's impossible for us to want to be that high and that shaped when, see, for example, right, I'm going to try and explain this. I'm not a tactical guy, so Joshua will be able to explain this.
Yeah.
But Dundee, this is, so see when John Souttar has the ball for the red card, everyone's flat-footed. So as soon as he misplaced that pass, all it takes is a few strides. Rothwell doesn't react. Max Aarons is on his feet. Souttar's in no man's land looking at the sky, at how nice the clouds are. Giga is completely back-paced at all. It's one pass and our whole team is turned and the team's running onto you. And that's the biggest issue. All it took was one through ball. Now, Finlay Robertson isn't a fast guy. No disrespect to him. It's not like he's got pace to burn. We saw it with Czerny a wee bit in Fenerbahce away. When you get a run on a defender or a run on the team, it doesn't matter how quick you are. It's unlikely that you're going to get back unless you've got Joachim Bjorklund levels of pace. You know, and it's not going to happen. And that's our biggest issue. We're asking guys then to make sure they command the ball and keep on the ball. And I've heard a lot of people say, Raskin should be our sixth. Raskin should be in this team. Raskin, I get it completely, but Raskin's not good enough on the ball either. But what he does do at least is try and play the forward passes. Derek, there was times on Saturday where Giga had a square ball to Jeffy, Souttar had a square ball to Aarons, and they would play two when one would do it. And that's the biggest issue. They're not comfortable in the ball. They're not willing to take the risks. And Russell Martin's right in a sense that we need players to take risks so that it disrupts things and we can win the ball back. I understand completely what he's trying to get at. But if he can't coach that quickly, then this style won't change and we will continue to be picked off. I'm not even bothered about looking forward to the games that are coming up and everything else because it's the next one that counts for Rangers, and you want to see progress, you want to see bits and pieces, but it's difficult at the moment to say all we need is XYZ to fix it. We need a left back, we need a centre back, we need a 9. Doesn't matter. We need a 9 that works in his system. You need possibly something else from midfield. There's so many players that you need for his system to kind of click in and work. Mikey Moore's finally able to play now that he's turned 18, thankfully, because he'll make a difference, and we would have needed that kind of different perspective on Saturday. But I can't sit here with all good conscience and say it's going to get better because it's not based on anything we've seen. But we do need that horrible word. We do need to kind of patience and ride it out a wee bit. But there's people already, Derek, that have decided. I heard it on Saturday on the way out. It's You'd be wrong to say it. There's people that want him out already. And if you go, and I don't think, look, I'll say this. I don't think it'll make a difference to the owners in the slightest if we're 10 points behind at the end of August, because I don't think they'll knee-jerk reaction. I don't think it'll make a difference. But Ibrox will be toxic, and I think that's clear. There's no point in saying otherwise, because it will be Aberdeen game levels under Beale, etc. Clement, everything that you've seen, St Mirren, under Clement, that all happen again, even though it's this early, because people have already decided. They had decided before he even arrived that they don't want him.
He was, yeah.
He won't wear a suit. He plays hipster football. He's a philosophy guy. Whatever you want to call it, people have decided already, Derek. And that's going to be Russell Martin's biggest enemy. Is it doesn't matter if he goes 15 games unbeaten or whatever, because when it does pop up again, it's how do you convince the majority or the minority, whatever you want to phrase it as at this moment, that he's the right man for the job, because people have lost faith already, and it's 5 games in.
Yeah. That word patience is something we've mentioned before. Russell Martin's said it as well. It's all right, patience at clubs like Swansea and Southampton in the Championship, where picking up points and losing a number of games isn't necessarily a major disaster. A draw, it's not good enough at Rangers, and he needs to quickly learn that. It's almost like a defeat. And second is nowhere, as we know, whereas the Championship is ultra competitive. You can still be in with a shout even if you're on a barren run. So, that is a major issue for me, and he has to start picking up results, or else the more and more fans are going to be turning away. And I do feel for the punters that are paying hard-earned money to go and watch that on Saturday and being served up what was served up. It's so far off it defies belief. A differing view coming in, and big thank you to that UFO podcast, says that they support the pundits and the like are overreacting. Stevie, it wasn't utterly dreadful. It's a work in progress. 6 weeks won't fix what's been wrong for 3 years. We still needed more players. Still need more players, yeah, absolutely. But you'd like to think we could have seen shoots of encouragement in the last 2 domestic games, at least, that you can get on board with what he's trying to do. I get it's a big upheaval and players aren't comfortable playing in that system. But we're just calling what we're seeing at this point in time. We all hope it's going to get better. It has to get better, or else it won't last in Glasgow. And Bluebells are blue with it a point. Thank you for the donation, buddy. I'm very tired of hearing about a philosophy. The philosophy should be win. The job needs a pragmatic approach where you can change to the team you're playing. Yep, certainly think successful Rangers managers have been pragmatic, Stevie. But listen, the board are all in on Russell Martin. They want to change the culture, as we heard when he was unveiled, and they want to go down this philosophy and this playing style. And we've got to just grin and bear it. I think there's going to be a few more bumps in the road before we start seeing, hopefully, the fruits of what he's trying to achieve here.
If that poster thinks that it wasn't utterly dreadful, then I'd like to borrow his glasses that make him think that it wasn't utterly dreadful, because Saturday was utterly dreadful. Let's call a spade a spade. Rangers created absolutely zero. Yeah. I could see the point if we were seeing small shoots of progression and stuff like that. But everything that we had seen in moments, and that's all there's been so far, wasn't eligible on Saturday in the slightest. We created next to nothing. There was no clear chances missed. There was no cutting them apart. Nothing like that happened. This was Dundee we were playing. So, I'm sorry, it was utterly dreadful. And I'm well aware, look, I banged on about it, patience, and there's context to everything, and I get it. Look, I get that, and I've made that point over and over again, but I'm not going to sit here and treat people like they're silly, Derek, by saying, we need time, we need context, blah, blah, blah. It was Dundee on Saturday. We were miles off it. It was utterly dreadful. The players, the performance by everyone out there wasn't up to scratch. And what was worse is, Derek, we actually showed the urgency we should have showed from word go in the last 15 minutes with 10 men against Dundee. And that's the biggest issue. If you can turn that on with 10 men and start to play with the urgency, start to try and move the ball quicker, then I've got to ask why it wasn't done from word go. And it goes back to what I said at the very start about how the players turn up with this expectancy, this attitude of we're here to win and, you know, it should come easily might not be what they're doing, but it's how it comes across. And I don't agree with that at all. I'll be surprised if many people watching doesn't think that we were utterly dreadful on Saturday, because I certainly do.
Yeah. Of course, it pales into insignificance as well, because it was desperately sad news following the game. Teddy Bears rightly pointing at RIP to the Rangers fan who died at Ibrox on Saturday. Dreadfully sad news. A tweet from Rangers yesterday said, everyone at Rangers is devastated to learn of the passing of one of our supporters at yesterday's match with Dundee. The thoughts of the entire club are with their family and friends. We'll be reaching out to the family to offer our support at this deeply sad and difficult time. And we echo that at the Rangers Review. Really, really sad news heading to the game on Saturday and not returning. It really is. It's gut-wrenching stuff, Stevie, hearing of a fan not making it home.
Happened just behind us, Derek. It was really difficult to concentrate on the game when that's happening, and you knew it was serious. You knew it was serious from the reaction of everybody around in the emergency services and stuff. Dreadful news. Condolences to friends and family. And what do you say, Derek? It's just nobody should ever go to the football and not come home. And
no,
you know, it's just that it's sad. It's so sad and difficult to put into words.
Yeah.
So, just as I said, condolences and love from us all for the friends and family.
Yeah. Moving on then, Rangers, of course, we touched on players playing in the system that are a tad uncomfortable. The transfer work isn't over. A number of players have already come in. Another player being heavily linked with the move is the lad Mendy from Real Betis. The defender, as we reported last week, it's our understanding that the player favours a move to Ibrox. According to sources close to the player, it's now up to the clubs to agree a deal. But by all accounts, Stevie is a big strapping centre-back. Of course, there was interest in him elsewhere, but looks to favour a move to Rangers. When you mentioned John Souttar there, I think it's important. It doesn't look comfortable, especially on that left-hand side. Rangers need to bring in reinforcements in the centre-back position. I think that's clear to anyone. And we've not yet seen Manny Fernandez either. I do wonder with Giga's suspension, whether we will now start to see what he can do in that Rangers backline. But the prospect of Mendy at the back, him and Giga, that would certainly provide physicality in there.
I don't know much about him, Derek, so I can't really pretend to be an expert. He's not got a lot of games under his belt, has he? I don't think he's played that many times. I would be asking, is he good on the ball? Is he quick? Can he head the ball away? Because see, when you talk about like being able to defend, see the way we set up on Saturday for that set piece, we were overloaded at the back post and nobody cracked a light. They were all on Jeffy. I think there were 2 or 3 of them over there. It was just so poorly set up, and if the players can't take responsibility for that on the pitch and the manager can't set it up from the sideline, then we're in big trouble. It doesn't really matter who they are, you know. So that's something that I hope he's good at. If it does turn out to be true, as I said, don't know anything about it. We're waiting on Chris telling us yea or nor yea. But the boy who reported it, Derek, not to be a party pooper or that, he was the one that was going on about Eggman and putting up the wee egg timers about him moving to here, there, and everywhere when nothing was even happening with that. So I would rather wait until we find out, you know, officially what's happening either from one of the clubs or an agent close to it or something. So I'm quite grounded with it. What I do know, Derek, is, and I think everybody would agree, I think John Souttar's a fantastic siege defender. He's had some really big moments for us so far in the 5 games. Played really well against Pilsen last week. But he looks like a fish out of water when you ask him to play domestically with the ball at his feet. When you ask him to move it quickly, when you ask him to play in this system, I don't think he's capable. So it's imperative that we fix that, because all the problems come from the pace of the centre-backs and using that ball quickly. They should be getting it quickly and popping it off. They should not have over 100 passes backwards and forward to each other, like was pointed out yesterday. They shouldn't have that. So we need to find a way very quickly to fix that. there's so much, to be worked on, Derek, when it comes to the midfield, the defenders, the wingers, how to give the ball to them in the right positions, for them to be in the right positions and stuff like that. It's not an easy, quick fix. It's going to take time. It is trying to build something new. I get it completely. But as you said right at the very start, by the time they get that sorted, it might be too late already. So I just think that I don't agree with the shouts for him to go because we're 2 games in. I
can understand it though.
I got into trouble, Derek. Do you remember? I got into trouble for asking for the removal of Clement and saying that I was worried about him after 6 months. Beale was pretty much the same. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I seen issues with Gio very, very early on. So I'm trying to be pragmatic and sit back and think, right, and give them time and try and understand what he's trying to do, try and allow for that. Otherwise, I can understand what people are saying, but I just don't think it makes any difference. I don't think the board will react no matter how bad it gets early on, because I don't see them pulling the trigger. They're trying to completely change the culture of the football club. They're trying to change everything, and they've said that themselves. There's a deep-rooted problem here about an acceptance of second place and stuff like that, and they're not going, or even worse, whatever way you want to look at it, they're not going to pull the trigger early. So I just think it's energy wasted thinking along that lines. What I do hope is we just see an instant uplift in performances, and domestic form has to be where we are, and it's going to be difficult because if you get past Pilsen, you've got another European game, and then it comes thick and fast after that. So I think we would all want 6 to 8 games and domestically where we could just fire on and concentrate on that and get a run of results so that everybody would start feeling better. But just need to wait for that to come.
Yeah, just on the centre backs, a few comments coming in. Billy and many others says, why on earth did we bin Nsiala? Certainly on that left-hand side, someone that is, you'd imagine, more comfortable playing there than John Souttar. I was surprised, I did say at the time, when Russell Martin said he had that conversation with him and he's looking to move him on, whether that be at a permanent or on loan. I thought he would have got a chance to see what he could do in that position, but that hasn't been the case. You surprised at that, Stevie? Could he be a potential solution there?
I don't know.
I don't know. Obviously,
honestly, I'm
not with it all.
I mean, it's difficult. I've sat here for 32 minutes and been ultra negative, and it's really difficult to think that Nsiala would be the answer to any problems. I quite like him, incidentally. I thought that he positionally was decent. I thought that he was good in the ball between lines. But when we're so bunched up, the way we were on Saturday, basically playing like that and spacing behind, I'm not sure that he's got the pace or anything to get back either. So, listen, if Nsiala was that great, he wouldn't be at the football club anymore, because as soon as he was made available, he would have been moved on. But we're now 6 weeks after that conversation, Derek, and he's still here with zero interest or zero bids. So I don't know. I mean, the problem is that, like, us as a support, we look for answers to everything. You could play Ben Davies at left back. You could play Nsiala here. Tavernier should be back in the team. I read it all on X. James Tavernier literally cost us the equaliser at Fir Park and defended atrociously. And people are saying we should get him back in. Likewise, Kieran Dowell did all right on Saturday, did better than Diamandi. We should start him in his position. As a support, we don't do ourselves any favours either, because it's a comfort blanket thing. I'll get Tap back in, get this person in, get that. They're not good enough. And that we saw it last year. And we saw it. The evidence is there to support that, and we need to move away from it. So, look, Clinton Nsiala's time at the club is over, much like many others. I would rather we move them on and try and get better players in.
You mentioned Kieran Dowell there. I wanted to bring that up because Russell Martin was asked about him coming on, and the reaction from the crowd. Of course, there was a few boos when he was introduced, which I think is out of order, incidentally, when a Rangers player comes on at the park. But again, it's fan feeling at this moment in time. He says, that surprised me. I'm not on any social media or anything like that. So I don't really know what the narrative is around Kieran. So I don't think it helps him. Don't think it helps the rest of the guys. That's how I feel about it. I'm disappointed for Kieran, because what we've seen at the training ground, and when I speak to everyone here, he's really valued as a person and a character, and he's played out of position for us for 3 games. Today, he actually played a bit more in his position and played forward. I thought he was good with the ball. He ran really hard for the team. He's a really good footballer, so I don't know what's going on there, but we're just judging everyone off a clean slate. Yeah. What do you make of that, Stevie? First of all, Kieran Dowell falls into the bracket for me of players that just aren't the players required to take Rangers where they want to go, whether he's a good trainer or not. I've seen enough from him on the park in a Rangers jersey to determine that it's not going to work yet for him. So, yeah, that's where I stand on it. However, booing players when they come on, that's a big no-no for me.
Thoroughly agree. Thought it was dreadful. But it's kind of symptomatic of where we are. Look, Kieran Dowell's not a good footballer, so there's no point in trying to pretend it won't work for him here at Rangers. It certainly won't work for him in this system. He might have one or two moments, but he was just as guilty at Fir Park for that goal conceded. He was guilty in Panathinaikos for that goal conceded. So I don't really care how hard he works in training, because everybody with a set of eyes can see what he produces consistently for Rangers when he gets the opportunity, which isn't a lot because of that. So, Russell Martin, it's a strange hill to want to die on, to want to take the support on over Kieran Dowell. So, it's up to him. He's a manager or he's a head coach, whatever title you want to give him. So I get it, but you're not going to convince me that Kieran Dowell's a footballer. So it just goes back to the kind of comfort blanket stuff of guys that aren't good enough, that are still kind of kicking about here. And there's many of them. Look, it is what it is with regards to that. But if Kieran Dowell's playing out of position and he's working hard for the team, that's great. But we all know what we see, Derek, and I think that's quite clear. So, and yes, look, our support is difficult. We are entitled. We are impatient. I get it. 100%. I get it. And people will probably label that at me as well. And that's absolutely fine, because Rangers should be winning. But we don't have time for guys to settle in and put in substandard performances. And Kieran Dowell's done nothing but do that. So just like the comments, he was surprised by Dundee, I'm a little bit surprised by Russell Martin not knowing the background to Kieran Dowell. So if he thought that was the right thing to do on Saturday, that's his judgment, that's fine. What I will say though, Derek, is he did do more in 21 minutes than in half an hour than Mohamed Diamandi offered the whole game. And we need to have a conversation around that midfield, because it's clearly not working. For Nico Raskin to come in and say, the manager to say that he showed more bite and more tackles in 30 minutes than the rest of the team does is a huge issue for us. And Joe Rothwell was busy and he took the ball, understand it, and he is decent on the ball. I get it. He's doing everything that a 6 should be doing. But see, when your 2 8s who are pivotal to everything are not working, then we've got a huge issue. And this isn't so much an individual thing. It doesn't really matter who's playing in those positions. That system isn't getting the best out of our 9, our 8s, and that's the biggest issue, because we're not moving it and we're not showing. And when it does, by the way, see, when it does click and it does work, then it looks decent, as it did against Pils, and Lyle Cameron was really involved and stuff like that. That's the way it should look. But we need to figure out how we can consistently get them working, because it's not complimenting anyone. Raskin, Diamandi, doesn't matter who it is playing in those positions. If they're not getting the best, even Lyle Cameron was pretty poor on Saturday because he couldn't get in the game at all. That's the biggest issue for us. And I've had a pop at Cyril Dessers in the 9. It's not really a pop at Cyril Dessers. It's more of a pop at our number 9 position. I told you last week, Derek, in conversation, or I commented last week, rather, that the 9s aren't getting in the game. And that's been a huge issue. Saturday was rinse and repeat. How many chances did Cyril Dessers have on Saturday?
There's a lack of creativity there, and you hope that Tello Asgard could be the guy to unlock that when he eventually comes back. There was a comment saying any update on him. The press conference is a little later on, folks, 6 p.m. Local time.
He's not playing tomorrow anyway, Derek. So he's not in the squad. He's back on the grass training, shows he's a man, which is great. I would sincerely hope, if we've got any chance of Tello Asgard being back soon, then he'll be ready for Saturday against Alloa to play at least some part in it, because we have to get this boy game time and playing. But it's asking a lot that if we're hoping that he's going to be, the thing that makes everything click. I sincerely hope he is, but it's a lot of pressure for a boy that, if we're hoping that what happens if he gets injured again and comes out of the team? We've got, are we going to be back to square one? So, look, Asgard, Eagerman, Mikey Moore, They can all make a difference. I get it. I think we still need something else. We're still
clearly
somewhere. Raksaki, is an end of the window job by all means. So let's see where that is come time. So I still think we need something else in there, as well as different things at the back as well. Definitely need a left back. I think that's startling. We need a left back. We need a left centre back. You never know how that can affect it and make it click. I understand, but a lot of work to be done, Derek.
Yeah.
I think that's clear.
Incidentally, Alloa beat Dundee in that League Cup, so I don't think it's a gimme by.
Look, it's not. Us against anybody isn't a gimme when we turn up and
that's the affairs
like we have, Derek. So
yeah,
there's no point in sitting here and trying to lie about it. People are right, and the boy's right where he said their context. But I've used that word context and patience quite a lot, and I understand it. But you can't sit here and say, we have to be patient. It's early. We weren't that bad against Dundee because we were. And I've watched it back, and it is boring. It is slow. It's turgid football. The centre backs don't move it quick enough. The midfielders are anonymous. The wingers get it with their back to goal far too many times, and it's not great. It's not great in the slightest. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit and try and lie to folk. The only thing I disagree about folk at the moment is that they kind of want to pull the trigger on Russell Martin. I don't see it being feasible. I don't see the boardroom doing it. And I just don't think it's worth concentrating on because I don't see it happening. That's where I am. I said it yesterday on X. I don't agree with that kind of shout. I do think it's kind of pointless going down that route so early. But I understand everybody's concerns and I understand everybody's feeling towards it. And there's a lot of, just to add as well, we wanted this. We wanted change. We wanted players gutted. We wanted the squad gutted. We wanted owners.
We wanted that, Stevie, but he was not a popular appointment, Russell Martin.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't, Derek. I don't know many people that actually wanted him.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give him a chance now he's here. That's the difference. I don't think it does anybody any good to sit here and go, I don't want him and everything else. It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. So we wanted this. We have to embrace it and at least give it a chance to see how it turns out. And yeah, look, people are entitled to react how they want to react. That's obvious. But it was never, ever going to be easy. And we cannot keep, being in this situation. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope it picks up soon. But as I touched on earlier, I'm expecting a few more bumps in the road, unfortunately. Thomas says, glad you're back, Derek. Good to be back, Thomas, despite having to pick the bones out of what we witnessed at the weekend. Let's hope that tomorrow night is a bit better. Incidentally, I've got no real. I know you said Stevie Paulson they'll still feel they'll watch that game at the weekend and feel that they're still in with a chance. Rangers often do the biz on European nights. It's domestically, and you hear a lot of supporters saying as well that they're not fussed about European football at this moment in time, and I can get that. I can understand that the feelings towards that as well, because domestically it's been so far beyond what is acceptable, that it does have to improve and improve quickly. But good to be back, Thomas. Thank you for that. Heads up of what is to come later on. As we touched on, Joshua is over in Pilsen for us. You'll be at the press conference. We'll bring you everything that Russell Martin has to say later on, just after 6 p.m. And then Joshua will join me for a wee show later on as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. You got your opinion piece on the website at some point this week, Stevie?
Will do. Yeah, probably wait until after Pilsen and wait until Bossman Joshua asks us to write something. But the article went out, I think it was Friday morning. And my last one in the first sentence was, what a difference the 3 days can make for up or down. Well, we went up and we're back down again.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah. It's a life of following Rangers, unfortunately, at this point in time. Right, big thank you to Stevie and to you all for tuning in to the chat. It's much appreciated. And if I don't speak to you later, enjoy your Monday. Bye for now.